Laskilcha bina, in order to teach you understanding. And this is a quote from King Solomon. And King Solomon is all about, bina is all about understanding, is all about the depth of knowledge, but not just knowledge, but it's understanding the knowledge. And that's how the Balatanya, the Alter Rebbe, opens up this chapter. He says, Ki lo zu haderech. This is not the way Yishkon or Hashem, that the light of Hashem, that the divine light, that the spiritual light should reside, liot chafetz b'chaye bisarim, to reside within physical life. Ubane umezone, and children and sustenance. In other words, caring about the physical needs of a person, and included in that is also family needs, which perhaps we could get to a little bit later. But let's just call it for now the physical life of a person, right? The financial life of a person, etc. And on that, the Alter Rebbe says, Ki al zeh amar Razal batel ritzoncha, and on this, our sages say that you should nullify your will for his will. Dehainu, what does that mean? Sheyeritzono batel b'mitziut, that his will, that a person's will should be completely nullified in their totality. Velo yelo shum ratzon klal, and a person should not have any other desire b'inyane olam hazeh, in the desires of this world. Kulam hanichlalim bebanei chaye umezoni, that are all included in these three categories of children, of finance, and of health. And on this, our sages say, you live against your will. Now, although we started this chapter, this is a good place to actually pause for a second and to give a bit of an introduction. So we've started the chapter, but really we're just beginning the chapter. And the main focus of this chapter is a foundational tenet in Hasidic philosophy, which was brought out in the Baal Shem Tov's writings, which is called the Hishtavus. Hishtavus means equality. And I'm not talking about 1967 equality of this and equality of that, right? I'm talking about equality of everything being equal. And what that means, very briefly, in the philosophy of the Baal Shem Tov, the founder of the Hasidic philosophy, who really brought down Kabbalistic thought to a very tangible place for each and every one of us. So according to the Baal Shem Tov, one should not view this world in categories of good or bad. In other words, it's not that I either like what's going on or I dislike what's going on. It's good for me. It's not good for me. I'm happy. I'm sad. I'm successful. I'm not successful. I'm healthy. God forbid the other, right? A person should not view his or her life in those coarse, categorical aphorisms, right? A person has to realize that shaveh, that really everything is equal, regardless of what I see and what I perceive as being my state of mind and my physical state of being, of well-being on financial level, on the health level, on all those things. One needs to realize that everything is equal, right? And that from the perspective of, this is what the chapter that we're learning about is really going to delve into, but just so you understand that these are the words of the Baal Shem Tov. The Baal Shem Tov explains that everything is equal. And a person could be in let's say, in a spiritual state, and then he goes out, he's, let's say, he's involved in finance, involved in worldly matters, etc. It doesn't make a difference. It's all the same. And even when a person transitions from the material world, right, and he goes into the spiritual world, it's actually also, everything's the same. And this is what the Alter Rebbe is going to teach us, and is going to give over here in this amazing chapter. So let's have a look inside. Ubira Inyan. So if you're holding on to the Tanya, it's the actual second paragraph over there in the 11th chapter. Ubira Inyan, and to explain this matter of how one could be on this very high level, seemingly, that one does not care about their three most important categories in life, and their main concern is the higher will of being, of existing, and the higher will of the divine, of Hashem. Ubira inyan hurak emuna amitis, that only true emuna, only true belief, beyotzer bereshit, in the creator of the world, dahainu, and that means shabriya yesh me'ain, hanikra reshis chochma, v'hi chochmaso she'enu museget l'shum nivra, habriya azoti b'chol eit v'rega, shemitavim kol abruim yesh me'ain, v'chochmato yisbarach hamechayet hakol. So the Alter Rebbe says that when one meditates, deeply introspects, right, on the concept of emunah, of the belief, of the true belief in God, in the Creator, right? He says that all of this will dissipate, and he explains that what is the foundation of belief? What is the foundation of emunah? He says the foundation of emunah is that every single second, the world and everything in the world becomes recreated. In other words, our existence at this moment is a totally new existence. And it's again a new existence. And it's again a new existence. Every single second, the world is recreated by the will of the divine, by the will of God. And that is actually what emunah is. That is what we loosely define as belief or faith, but it's so much more than faith. Faith isn't just the belief that there is a God. Faith is actually, or emunah is actually that God is way high. His existence is way higher than we could ever imagine. Every single second, the world is being recreated. And that, of course, is something that is beyond our capacity of understanding. Just like a table will never be able to understand its maker. So to our creation, our recreation every single second is something which is beyond our understanding. And how do we connect to that? That is only via emunah. That is only via, right, the what we call belief, right? So he continues, and when a person will deeply examine, be'omek havanato, in the depth of his understanding, v'yitzayer bedaito, and will draw in his intellect. And what he means over here, that although a person can't understand it, but a person's almost like artistic side comes out, and a person actually imagines this recreation, and actually the concept of imagery and the concept of the spiritual world comes alive. You know, all of a sudden there's colors. All of a sudden there's much more than just, you know, it just being a, you know, what we call God, right? All of a sudden there's something which is, you know, we actually have a relationship with this with our Creator. And that's actually the meaning of emunah. Emunah comes from the word oman. Oman means an artist, which is very, very significant, because art and emunah and belief are almost are essential one for the other, right? A good artist has to realize that his inspiration comes beyond their mind, anything that they could understand. And artists are usually not mind. They're not in the box, what we call in the box type of people, because they draw from beyond mind, what they actually can understand. And we need to borrow that artistic sense for developing, right, and harnessing our emunah, our connection to God, and our understanding will only deepen and become much richer once we actually, make this a reality. And actually, this is the place to interject that Kabbalah talks about these different levels, many different levels, and the purpose of the person who's studying Kabbalah is to deepen their relationship with the Creator. And of course, unless the person is on a very high spiritual level, they won't be able to really fully understand the concepts. But by deepening their understanding of these concepts, so that's kind of like borrowing tools. And now the person has, like these colors, and he has and he has this type of a brush and that type of a brush. And now their mind expands to be able to actually understand a little deeper and to deepen their horizons. So the Alter Rebbe continues, and a person will meditate on how each and every second the world becomes recreated. How can a person ever conceive of saying or of thinking that there's any negativity in their lives? From children or health or sustenance or shari yisuri ba'olam, or other types of hardships that one has in this lifetime. Hara ayin, the nothingness, ha'ayin, the nothingness, the source of everything is really, we call nothingness, but that's really that place of nothingness, which is shehi chokhmaso yisbarach, which is the wisdom of the divine, who mekor hachaim, is the source of all life, v'atov v'oneg, of good and of pleasure and of delight. V'hu Eden, and that's the level of Eden, of paradise, shelamayla me'olam haba, which is above the world, the next world. So everything funnels down, everything comes down from this place of nothingness. And that place of nothingness is the fountainhead where all of creation emanates from. And if that's the source of where all of creation comes from, right? That means that all of creation comes from the source of all goodness, because the Creator is all good. And therefore, everything that comes down, that trickles down through all these funnels, and what we call seder ishtalshelus, we call like the order of creation, sort of like the cosmic Kabbalistic name of the creation of the world, and until it comes down to this physical world. And in the physical world, it appears like there's some hardship, and it appears like there's some obstacles and negativity and everything. He says the only reason why we don't recognize it, the only reason is because it's not understood. Therefore, it appears that it is bad, or yisurim, or there's hardships. But the truth is, ein ra yored milamala. But the truth is, there's a rule that no bad, nothing negative, nothing bad could come down from above. V'akol tov, and everything is really just good. Rak she'eino musag, because it is only not known, it is not understood. V'rav tuvo, and because of its all of its goodness. V'zeu ikar ha'emuna shebishvila nivra adam, and this is the whole reason why the world was created.